your boy DZ. If you haven't already subscribed to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Hit that like button and share this video. Hunter Biden was convicted on all counts in federal court. Now, Hunter Biden applied for a gun. And when he applied for a gun, he was in his addiction. Everybody knew he was in his addiction. So, he didn't state on his application that he was getting high. And those things are the things they ask on the application when you're applying for a firearm. The government had people that he interacted with, people that he got high with, come and testify against him. Ex-girlfriends, people that observed him getting high around that time. The government had people come testify against him. His daughter testified that around the time he purchased the gun, he was getting his life together. But I don't think that weighed enough in on the jury, and the jury came back guilty on all counts. We all know that President Biden and Trump are at odds. This can trickle down into the family. It's war between the last president and the president that is current. The last president is trying to become president again. Being as though that he's trying to become president again, the current president is sending pressure his way. But he's also sending pressure back that way. And as he sent the pressure back that way, it hit Hunter Biden. Hunter Biden has a history of being an addict. So, in this situation, they dug into his past. And they held it on him for his past. But, let me see what we got here.
Indicted. This has been an ongoing question of, is this going to be political baggage weighing down on the president's campaign? What's the view right now?
Well, even now, Lester, that is still somewhat of an open question, only because there is just not a lot of polling recently that tells us how voters are feeling about what has happened to Hunter Biden. And obviously, since this guilty verdict came in just the last couple of minutes, we don't have it yet. Here's what I can tell you about the broader political landscape here, that overall numbers over the course of the last 6-8 months or so prior to this trial beginning suggested that the majority of voters felt that Hunter Biden was being treated fairly by the justice system. And frankly, not many of them felt like this would change their position. The ones who did, that fell almost entirely along partisan lines. So it seems unlikely, at least at this point, based on the information we have, that this could move the needle much with persuadable voters. That said, in one survey, about 2% of Democrats suggested that perhaps if Hunter Biden were to be convicted, that could sway them one way or the other, or sway them away from President Biden. Tiny slice of the electorate. This is going to be a close election. But again, we've got to, I think, hit the brakes a bit on that piece of it, because we just don't know how this will play out more broadly, how many people are paying attention here to what's happening. If you look at the way that this could impact the campaign from the president's perspective, you heard Gabe Gutierrez there from the White House North Lawn talk about it. This has been a searingly gut-wrenching trial in many ways for the Biden family. You think about those moments when you had Hunter Biden's daughter on the stand recounting very difficult moments with her father, Hunter Biden himself nearly in tears. Remember that the prosecution acknowledged this, calling much of the evidence that was laid out in this case personal and ugly, but calling that absolutely necessary, and describing to the jury how everything that brought Hunter Biden to this point were his choices and his alone. The jury, obviously today, with this guilty verdict, with this conviction, bought the prosecution's argument, essentially, as Hunter Biden is now convicted. Lester, keep in mind that while we don't know his sentencing date, we do know that this is not the last collision between Hunter Biden's legal issues and his father's political campaign here, because remember what happens in September. That is the date, at least for now, of Hunter Biden's next criminal trial on those felony tax charges for, as the prosecution lays out in that instance, spending his money on everything but taxes, essentially, on drugs, on illicit sex partners, et cetera. So this is not going to be the last time that we will see Hunter Biden or hear about some of his behaviors and some of his actions, Lester.
Sorry, party's canceled.
Well, they found him guilty on all 3 charges. So this is something that he's gonna have to deal with. So Wilmington, a jury in Delaware on Tuesday found Hunter Biden, the son of President Joe Biden, guilty on 3 felony gun charges after a week-long trial that focused on his history of drug addiction. Hunter Biden was charged in federal court in Wilmington with 3 felony counts tied to possession of a gun while using narcotics, and had pleaded not guilty. The jury started a deliberation on Monday afternoon and deliberated for about 3 hours before returning the historic verdict. Hunter Biden looked straight ahead at the jury as it delivered the verdict and slightly nodded as it was read. The trial was the first involving the offspring of the sitting president, and came as Joe Biden is facing a brutal re-election fight against Donald Trump in November. First Lady Jill Biden was not in the courtroom as the verdict was read and arrived at the courthouse minutes later. She immediately went into the holding room where Hunter Biden went after the verdict. 2 of the counts carrying maximum prison sentences of 10 years. Yeah, Biden has the power to pardon his son, but told ABC News in an interview on June 6 that he would not do so. Hunter Biden issued a statement thanking his wife, family, and friends for their support. I am more grateful today for the love and support I experienced this last week from Melissa, my family, my friends, and my community than I am disappointed by the outcome. Recovery is possible by the grace of God, and I am blessed to experience that gift one day at a time, the statement said. His attorney, Abe Loel, indicated they may appeal the verdict. We are naturally disappointed by today's verdict, he said. We will continue to vigorously pursue all the legal challenges available to Hunter. Jill Biden attended the trial, which began on June 3rd, featured explicit testimony from 3 of Hunter Biden's former romantic partners about his chronic drug use on multiple days. 2 of the counts accused Biden of having completed a form falsely indicating he was not using illegal drugs when he bought a Colt Cobra revolver in October 2018. The 3rd count alleges he possessed a firearm while using a narcotic. Biden's defense centered on the language used in the question on the federally mandated gun shop form, which asks, are you an unlawful user of or addicted to a narcotic drug? Loel noted other questions on the sheet begin with, have you ever been, but not that one? He suggested his client had been using alcohol during that time period, but not crack cocaine, and that it would have been easy to tell if he was on drugs at the time. There may be high-functioning alcoholics, but there is no such thing as a high-functioning crack addict, Loel said in his opening statement. Loel acknowledged his client used crack in the months before and after the sale, but suggested he wasn't using it at the time of the sale and did not at that point consider himself an addict. So he did not knowingly violate the law. Prosecutors pushed back on the claim by using passages from Biden's book where he detailed his struggles with alcohol and drug addiction. Loel told jurors in closing arguments that writing after the fact about being an addict in his book, which was published in 2021, doesn't mean Biden knew he was an addict when he bought the gun. Prosecutors also pointed to circumstantial evidence from witnesses about Biden's chronic drug use. His text messages and photos of him using drugs to show he was using crack that time. The evidence was personal. It was ugly. It was overwhelming, Leo Wise told the jury in his closing arguments. Prosecutors noted that Biden had withdrew $5,000 in cash, one on the day of the sale, and text Hallie Biden, the widow of his brother, Beau Biden, Bureau Biden, the next day that he was looking for a dealer. 2 days after the gun sale, he texted her, "I was sleeping on a car smoking crack." Lowell suggested his client claims were fictitious and he was simply trying to dodge Hallie Biden. The two had a tumultuous romantic relationship following Bill Biden's death. You have no idea whether he was just saying that or whether he was actually there. Lowell asked Hallie Biden in cross-examination last week. "Correct," she replied. Prosecutors also pushed back on Lowell's argument that his client couldn't function on drugs. Another witness Biden had been romantically involved with, Zoe Caston, testified that when she first saw him smoke crack, she didn't notice anything change in his demeanor. She also said his drug use got worse as time went on, and there were points at which he was smoking crack every 20 minutes. Hallie Biden said Hunter Biden introduced her to crack, a time in her life that she referred as terrible and embarrassing. She said she gave up using drugs in August 2018 and urged him to get clean as well. She discovered the gun in his car 11 days after he bought it and threw it outside of a grocery store for fear he or her children might hurt themselves. "I realized it was a stupid idea now, but I was just panicking." She testified the gun was found by a passerby, which led to the criminal investigation. The gun charge was initially going to be disposed as a part of the plea deal with special counsel David Wise's office last year. Under the term of the deal, Biden would have to be sentenced to 6 months probation for pleading guilty to tax charges, while the gun charges would have been dismissed in 2 years if Biden honored the terms of what known as a diversion agreement. As part of the plea deal, which was ultimately rejected by the U.S. District Judge Mary Ellen Noreika over concerns about its scope, Biden submitted a statement of facts in which he acknowledged he was a user of an addicted to crack and cocaine at the time of the gun sale. The court document, which jurors were prevented from seeing because it was part of the rejected plea deal, also said that during the 11 days he possessed the gun, he purchased and used crack cocaine regularly. Plea negotiations fell apart following Noreika's rejection, leading to the indictment on the gun charges in Delaware and another on tax charges in California. That case is scheduled to go to trial in September. So he has another case that he has to go to trial for, and being as though it's so much focus on this situation, they are not trying to let it be as if he's the president's son and just sweep that under the rug. They're trying to make sure that they set an example with this situation, even though it's the president's son, because it got so big. So many people was like, that's all he's going to get? 6 months probation? If it was somebody else, they would have sent him to jail. So they got to make something out of this situation because the public is so focused on it, and it's the president's son. So, yeah. I mean, people go through things and people change. It's a lot of people addicted to things out in the world, man. These things are put out here. People are addicted to things, and not everybody comes back. It's good the man came back, that he got his life back on track. But when you do get your life on track, sometimes things from your past come to haunt you. No matter who you are. You might put things behind you, but things come to haunt you. People want to bring up your past. Use the people that you were in relationships with against you. So, you know, it's like you got to commend the man for changing his life around, but people not looking at it like that when they're trying to get a conviction. It's their job. They're looking at, listen, I'm going to get a conviction in this situation, and it's the president's son. They trying to make a stamp for that. But we don't give enough credit to people when they change their life around. All we look at is the bad things in people. Whenever something goes wrong with people, that outweighs anything good they did. People don't want to give you credit for something good if something bad happened along that challenge. And we all dealing with different challenges in life. It's different adversities. We all go through things. But when somebody that is in position does something wrong, it's enhanced. It's totally enhanced if you are in position and you make a mistake. You don't get no credit for anything you did positive before. Now, the only light that they have on him is his drug use. Him going to buy a gun at a store when he wasn't a felon, but being as though that he was using drugs in that course period of time, and it was people that can verify it, text messages that can verify it, he was wrong. And they were going to give him a break on the situation, but they chose not to give him a break because the public put so much emphasis on it. He's in federal court and they ready to dismiss the gun charge so he can plead to the tax charges, but that wasn't enough. So it is what it is, man. We all make mistakes. We all go through things, man. Things happen. But this is not a forgiving world. So you got to be in tune with yourself. You got to know yourself. You got to love yourself. When you make a mistake, figure out how to correct it. Because we all going to make them. And just know that whatever you go through in life, it's not the end of the world. It is not the end of the world. The end of the world is when you are dead. When you die, that's the end of the world. But the circumstances and things you go through, they will pass. If you still living, you still breathing, you still got the ability, be thankful, man. Be happy, man. But they're going to do his sentencing in, I think, 120 days. So we will see what the sentence is. And they're probably going to just give him a year. Probably just give him a year for the gun charge. Because you see people that are celebrities get a year and a day for gun charges. So we'll see how it goes. And hopefully the brother recovered from the situation and he doesn't turn back to that. And this was just a chapter in his life. But we on the outside looking in. He has to live that life. His father's the president. So his life is going to be different regardless. And he got caught out there, man. But let me know what you think about the president's son being hooked on drugs. And, you know, do you think he recovered? Do you think that he was wrong for purchasing a gun? Do you think that he knew that he wasn't supposed to purchase a gun because he was in his addiction? But it's your boy Deezy, man. Leave a comment, man. It's not about the setback. It's about the get back now.